day, I am Teacher Mary, a student English teacher currently studying the course under the PED9, the teaching profession. For my demonstration, I delivered a simulated lesson on distinguishing facts from opinions, a competency for grade 7 English under the Matatag curriculum. The lesson was recorded. There were no actual students in the room. However, I delivered the lesson as if I were in a real classroom. I used Filipino cultural elements throughout my lesson to make it relevant and relatable for Filipino learners. I also emphasized the Filipino values such as respect and cooperation in my delivery. I positioned myself as a language model for Filipino learners. I used Filipino cultural elements such as jeepneys, sinigang, adobo, lechon, Banawa rice terraces, and Jose Rizal. I also emphasized the Filipino values of respeto and pakikisama throughout the lesson. Let me be honest, teaching to an empty room with a camera recording felt strange at first. I was talking to no one, but I had to pretend there were students listening, answering, and reacting. I felt pressure to perform, not just to complete the requirement, but to prove to myself that I can handle the responsibility of being a teacher. There were moments of doubt. I asked myself, do I sound like a real teacher? Am I explaining this clearly? Will my future students understand me? But there were also moments of confidence when I explained facts, opinions, and fact-based opinions using Filipino examples. I felt grounded. I felt connected to my identity as a Filipino teacher. I also felt a deep sense of responsibility. In PED9, I learned that a teacher is not just a content deliverer. A teacher is a model of values, a guide for learners, and a servant of the community. I took that seriously during my simulation, and by the end of the recording, I felt proud not because I was perfect, but because I showed up, I tried my best, and I am committed to growing. Now, let me evaluate my performance as a teacher in training. What went well? First, my lesson was aligned with the Matatag English curriculum and the PPST domains. Second, I demonstrated content knowledge by clearly defining facts, opinions, and fact-based opinions. Third, I integrated Filipino culture and values into the lesson. Fourth, I showed inclusivity by allowing students to answer in Filipino or Bisaya and by offering a pass option and by providing alternative assignments for students with no internet access. Now, the hard question. Did I feel like a professional teacher or just a student acting? I will answer honestly. There were moments when I felt like I was acting. When I posed for imaginary student answers, I felt like I was pretending. When I said raise your hand to an empty room, I felt the absence of real learners. But there were also moments when I felt like a professional. When I explained the difference between facts and opinions using the jeepney examples, I was not acting, I was teaching. When I connected the lesson to fake news and real-life decisions, I was not pretending. I was fulfilling my role as a language model for Filipino learners. So my conclusion is that I am not yet a full professional, but I am no longer just a student acting. I am a teacher in training, someone who is learning the craft of humility but walking the path with purpose. Let me now analyze my experience through the lens of the Code of Ethics for professional teachers. I will focus on the Article 4, a teacher in the profession. Section 2 states, every teacher shall uphold the highest possible standards of quality education, shall make the best preparation for the career, and shall be at his best at all times. During my simulation, I upheld this article in 3 ways. First, as I prepared a detailed lesson plan aligned with the curriculum. Second, I reviewed my content and practiced my delivery. Third, as I gave my best effort, even though there were no actual students watching me. I also connect experience to Article 3, the teacher in the community. Section 3 encourages teachers to participate in continuing education. My simulation and this blog are part of my continuing formation as a teacher. And finally, I connect to Article 8, the teacher and learners. Section 9 states that the teacher should ensure that learners are treated fairly and equally. My inclusivity strategies allowing different languages, offering pass option, providing alternatives for my way of upholding this article. The Code of Ethics is not just a document I studied in PED9. It is a mirror that I will look into every day as a teacher. During the simulation, I tried to reflect that mirror. I saw some areas where I shine. I also saw areas where I need to polish myself further. What else could I have done to be a better English teacher? First, I could have practiced my delivery more. Second, I could have used more varied activities. My lessons was heavy on discussion and group work. I could have added a song, a short video, a physical game to engage different types of learners. Third, I could have prepared better for unexpected student answer. In a real classroom, students will say things I do not expect, and I need to learn how to think on my feet and respond appropriately. Fourth, I could have been more mindful of my pacing. I spent more time on facts and opinions and less time on fact-based opinions. Next time, I will balance my time better. I am not a perfect teacher yet, but I am a teacher who is willing to learn, to reflect, and to improve. That, I believe, is the first step to becoming a great teacher. Finally, let me state my action plan. If I enter a real DepEd or a private school classroom in the future, the first thing I would improve is my classroom presence and authentic engagement. During my simulation, I was focused on delivering content in a real classroom. I need to focus on building relationship with my students. Specifically, here is what I will do. 1. I will learn the names of my students within the first 2 days. I will call them by their names, not by pointing or saying you. 2. I will start each class with a simple check-in. How are you feeling today? This shows I care about them as people, not just as learners. 3. As I will use more localized examples. Students learn better when they see themselves in the lesson. 4. I will continue to practice inclusivity. I will allow different languages. I will offer alternative outputs. I will give extra time without shame. And I will make sure no learner feels left behind. 5. I will remind myself daily of code of ethics. I will not teach for the salary of the title. I will teach because I want to be a language model for Filipino learners. Someone who speaks with authority, acts with integrity, and reflects with humility. My journey as a teacher is just a beginning, but I am ready. I am committed, and I will keep improving every single day. Thank you for watching. This is Teacher Mary, a pre-service English teacher. I may not be perfect yet, but I will not stop learning. See you in the classroom!